My name is Fred Martin. I'm 75 years old. I've been a professional investor for 50 years. I love what I do and have been able to be very successful at that. I'm also a father of 3 sons and a grandfather of 3 kids, and I'm married to a wonderful woman named Sue. So I'm one of these people that I love to do lots of stuff. One of my lifelong passions has been flying. I got my license 50 years ago, and I went through owning a succession of airplanes. I started with little single-engine planes, and now I fly a jet that goes to 45,000 feet and goes 540 miles an hour. I love to read, play tennis, golf, love taking walks with my wife and our 2 dogs. I just love to do lots of stuff. So all those roles I have and all those things I love to do, they're great. But that's not the identity that I have. What defines me is my relationship to God. But it took me a long time to figure that out. And I didn't become a Christian until my early 50s.
Yes, you are a good boy.
I got divorced after a long time being married. I was married for 30 years. And one of the key factors in the divorce was that I had no faith basis to my life. I mean, literally no spiritual basis to my life. I hadn't been in church in 30 years. I was fearful, I was empty. I didn't understand why, but I had no rock. I had nothing to fall back on except the idea that if I could just be successful enough, I'd be okay. And it wasn't enough. You know, when you think about financial success, I always want to remind yourself is, what if I gain the whole world but lose my soul? And that's kind of what was happening to me. So when my marriage fell apart, I realized that I needed to figure that out. So it started a long journey to try to understand Christ and understand what it all means, what it means for me. It took a long time. But I ended up really radically transformed. When I put my trust in Jesus, I found peace. I found ability to experience joy. I have much better relationships, much more honest relationships. I met Sue because she's a godly woman, and we were equally yoked to Christ. My leadership improved, and I became a better investor because I put financial success in the proper perspective. I mean, it was just like a cascade of things. My life just got infinitely better. But just because I became a believer, that didn't shield me from, some really, really tough things that have happened to me since I became a Christian. And in fact, in this last year, I've dealt with one of the most difficult and painful things that anyone could possibly go through. So on May 12th of 2021, I got a call that nobody wants to get. It was my son Teddy's wife. And she called me to tell me that he'd been seriously injured in a biking accident. And he was an expert bike rider. And he was on his way to Hennepin County Medical Center. So I jumped in my car and headed down there. I got there shortly after he did, and he was laying there. He was in a coma, and the doctor came in, and the news was not good. She said that he had some bleeding around his brainstem, which is the superhighway between your brain and the rest of your body. And she said that was not a great sign. So we had to wait until the swelling went down to see if there was any improvement in his condition. So we waited about a week for the swelling to go down. And I'd been praying through the whole period. I was unashamed to ask God to heal my son fully. If you decide to take him, I'll accept that too, but please heal him. And then the neurosurgeon dropped the bomb on us and said, we're not seeing any improvement. And so we took him off a respirator, and he died the next day on May 25th. He was 43. He was a devoted father, devoted husband, and just a wonderful young man. When he died, I remember trying to expel the grief. It's hard to describe. I held him right after he was born. When your child is hurt and you have unlimited resources, I would have flown him anywhere in the country. I would have done anything. But no amount of money could save him. And you're left with trust in God. That's it. That's all you got.
Say faster, Daddy, faster.
I'm ready, big fish.
3, Jump.
Safe one, Dad.
If I didn't have God in my life, I would have been a wreck. I cannot conceive of how I would have handled it. I wouldn't have known what to do. But he was just right there with me. I don't know how else to put it. And it took me some months to understand this. What it did do is I had no anger and no bitterness. If you don't have anger and you don't have bitterness, you just have a sense of loss. And that's priceless. It's not easy at all. You know, I miss him every day. But with your faith is strong, you get up and you soldier on. And there's a purpose to your life, and it goes beyond just being a father. It's about serving God, and you drive on. That's what you do. After Teddy passed, my faith in God actually deepened. And what I'm finding is the number one place for me to grieve is in church. There's something about being in a church service surrounded by believers with the Holy Spirit present that allows me to let my guard down and grieve properly. And I'm still in the process of doing that. Bad stuff happens, and we're all going to suffer triumphs and losses. The question is, how do you deal with it? And ever since Teddy died, God's extended his hand down to me, and I'm hanging on to it for dear life. Every day, he's with me. I trust him more than ever, and I'm hanging on.